A lot of what you would call normies, right, don't understand this. They think it's a choice still. The whole stigma. They still think that people, when they're doing drugs, that it's a choice, a moral failing, or whatever it is. A lot of them don't understand, and we also want to show them it happens. My son was a white privileged young man from the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and look what happened to him. Look what happened to my family. It can happen to anybody.
I'm Flindt Andersen, founder of Pain, Parents and Addicts in Need. I've been in recovery since 2001, and there isn't much I don't know about recovery. And my mission is to constantly tell the truth about addiction, to make the realities of addiction, recovery, and drug culture known, and to drive awareness and advocate change that ultimately saves lives.
And I'm Jason LaChance, a certified recovery coach with a passion for speaking with others and sharing their knowledge to help others seek recovery and maintain long-term sobriety. And this is the Don't Hide the Scars podcast, presented by Pain, Parents and Addicts in Need. On this special episode of Pain's Don't Hide the Scars podcast, we're revisiting our conversations with three extraordinary women who have lost their sons to either addiction or accidental overdose. Hear how they've triumphed by helping not only their loved ones, but their communities by educating, advocating, as well as offering community to those who have yet to face life's biggest challenges. It's an honor to share these conversations with Eve Goldberg, Paula Santos Young, and Susan Bartz Herrick. Please don't forget to subscribe to Pain's Don't Hide the Scars podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. If you're on YouTube, leave a thumb up and a comment and share with someone that will get value out of it. And leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcast and Spotify. And please share it with someone that needs to hear these messages. Eve Goldberg from Big Vision. Thank you for joining Flindt Andersen, founder of Parents and Addicts in Need, and myself, Jason LaChance, on Don't Hide the Scars.
Eve, glad to have you.
Thanks for having me, and nice to meet you guys.
With your start of Big Vision, of course, you lost your son, Isaac, of an accidental opioid overdose, which, that's why we do what we do, is to hopefully help anyone that was in those shoes. But there was something really interesting that I had read. You had talked about where Isaac had come home to you, and he talked about the first time he smoked marijuana and the immediate paranoia.
Yep. And
Flindt and I are very vocal that, what's the right term? It's the harmlessness of it, especially when it comes to the young, undeveloped brain, is just a bunch of fodder.
Yep. Right. Oh, don't get me started on this. I have such a rant about New York City right now. I don't know where you guys are based, but New York City now, you can't walk down the street without, it's like the smell of New York City is now weed. That is the new smell here. You walk I once walked 30 blocks, and I think every single block I smelled it. And it's just like, it follows you, it wafts, it like comes all the way down the street. You have no idea where it's coming from. And there's all these, mothers with their kids in strollers and just, everybody just walking around, and this has become our life. It's just become, it's legal now, so it must be good for you. And it's just, I don't know, the whole thing, the way it's being handled in New York City right now, the decriminalization, the legalization, opening up these shops and everything. I always think about Isaac, and if he were alive right now, how triggering it would be for him just to take a walk or a run or do something healthy, being outside. It would just be impossible for him to live his life here. And when he tried it that first time, I remember, how ironic is this? Because I remember thinking, he told me he's never smoking again. Like, he came home and he said to me, I tried smoking, pot. He was so honest with me. He was, 16, 17. He said, but Mom, you don't have to worry about me. Never doing it again. I hated the way I felt. I felt paranoid. I thought I was going to jump off the terrace. And here I was thinking, I'm so thankful for that, never going to continue.
Right.
And here you go. So, people say that it's not a, what's it called? Entry gateway, but it is. It's the same thing with alcohol. Isaac didn't really like to drink, but he drank. And once he drank, then all bets were off. And then he would just, then he would smoke, and then he would, try whatever else was on the menu that night. It didn't make a difference. So it's just, that's why we are at Big Vision, we talk about living substance-free lives. It's not just about alcohol. And I know there's such a big movement today about people, not drinking. And that's great. I think it's great for health reasons or whatever it is, but it's a part of it. I mean, we're all about like no substances. Let's not try to, change our brain chemistry with anything and just live our lives like the way they're kind of supposed to be lived.
Yeah. Amen. Not enough of, Flindt. I just throw the word abstinence out there and let you go, buddy.
Well, yeah. Look, first of all, I am huge on abstinence. And, when you were talking about this, one thing came to mind, and I've said this for years. Not everybody is going to turn into a flaming drug addict, right? By smoking pot or drinking, or turn into a major alcoholic, but by drinking. But this is what I say. If you are predisposed at all to addiction, if you're one of those people like myself that liked everything, that marijuana, that especially the pot today, because of the intensity of that drug, it is going to bring our defenses down. And if we are looking for a better high, like what you said about Isaac was that he didn't like it. It made him feel paranoid. I get that, right? But if we're still searching for something better, we're going to go search for it. We don't like that particular drug, but let's try this one over here. Again, with no intention of growing up to be a drug addict, no intention of becoming hooked on something, but inevitably, that's what those gateway drugs do. They can lead us down that path of finding something better, the longer lasting, better high.
Yeah.
And that's where everybody gets into a major jam all of a sudden.
I completely agree. I'm on the same page as you. I'm always surprised to hear people who, call themselves sober. I mean, I don't even know. I'm confused today with what the word sober is really supposed to mean. Is sober supposed to mean just not drinking? Or is it being sober, being free of all substances? Because I don't even know anymore today what is going on, but I'm with you. I believe in total abstinence, and I think that it can be done. And there's so many ways that you can go about finding that natural high, finding a way to feel good about yourself. I mean, I started, I never had this. I never had any kind of an addiction, but I gave up drinking, just because when I started Big Vision and I was telling everybody, you can have fun being sober. And I'm like, can you? Okay, let me see. I mean, obviously I lived my life that way. I never was a big drinker or party or anything, but every party I went to, the first thing they do is shove a drink into your hand. I mean, you can't avoid that. And so I said, I'm just going to try not drinking. I'm going to, go to parties and weddings and everything. And I just stopped drinking altogether. And I'm like, wow, I just feel so much better. And I don't have, every time I would drink, I'd want to drink more, or I'd want to, eat more, or I'd want nothing good ever came out of it. I never felt good afterwards. Like, it's just, it's a poison that you're putting into your body, as are most of these substances, and it's just, I don't know, what's going on today is just very disturbing, that people are just, I mean, I shouldn't say it's a bad thing. People are trying on, sobriety. They're testing it out. There's the sober curious movement. I mean, I wonder what you think about that. I'm asking.
Well, I have a sure, that's okay. But I have a saying, okay, because there is that saying, clean and sober.
Yeah.
So I put it in these terms. You can get clean from drugs and alcohol. Sober to me is living that good, productive, non-perfect life, because none of us are perfect.
Right.
The sober piece is more of, to me, is how you are living. We are clean and free from alcohol and drugs, but sober, again, I'm going to repeat it, is that productive life, a productive citizen, a productive father, mother, whatever it is. That's how I have to put it in terms, so I understand it.
I like that.
And as far as the sober curious being, I don't know about you, Flindt, but I've had a lot of people come that way to me because not even necessarily them, but maybe the effects of someone they know and love of what they've seen through their alcohol or drug use. And I always say, try it on for 30 days. If 30 days felt good, try it for 60. If 60 felt good, do it for 90, then 6 months. You're going to get to a point where you realize that you're just cognitive of everything going on. And most people go, oh, I never made bad decisions while drinking. I mean, it's as simple as you said, and then they'd shove one in your face and then you'd have one. And then I'm sitting here eating food, and probably food that maybe you wouldn't eat or at that amount, which, food can roll into an addiction. Or I don't know how many people have made stupid sexual decisions just through the casual drinking, And so the list can go on and on and on. And so anyone that reached out to me, I'm like, try it on. Try it on. And I don't think you'll miss it.
Well, and I also think the message that society is sending today is there's people out there that are saying, okay, if you're on Suboxone, if you're on methadone, if you're in some sort of safe drug, that you are sober, that you are clean and sober. And I'm sorry that you're not. That's the message is wrong. So we're literally allowing people to use these substances. And again, it's a bigger discussion than just that.
For sure. Because
we do have short-term harm reduction that Jason and I both believe in. We do not believe in long-term harm reduction as far as swapping out another drug for another one. But again, it's a lot of this today is the messaging. And people are confused. And of course, they're going to take, as we say in the program, they're going to take the easier, softer way 9 out of 10 times.
Right. What about the fact that you're really not supposed to say clean anymore? Everything is so PC now. You don't say clean because what
really?
Is clean? You haven't heard that when people say, well,
I haven't heard that one yet.
You haven't heard that because people say if you're clean, that means that, you're clean, that you were dirty before. Well, yeah, you kind of were. But I mean, that's like, I mean, but no, people like don't like to use the word clean anymore. Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff going on. I know, or it's, I know. But you guys are more old school in that way. You don't listen to that.
Well, I'm going to tell you, my pee test would have come up dirty.
Exactly. Everything today is so PC. I mean, it's in every aspect of life today. It's a bit much, but we're not going there. That's a
Well, and it's hard not to, Flindt and I will get onto the, I was just before the everybody got a trophy generation. And I'll tell you what, that everybody got a trophy generation, my friends of that age group didn't help their self-esteem one bit, not in a positive direction.
Right. Well, I will tell you something that Isaac loved to play. He loved sports and he played basketball when he was a little kid. And they had a sign in the gym, okay? And it said, if you had fun, you won. And to this day, like that always resonates. If you had fun, you won. And every kid got a trophy. Everybody got a trophy. And when Isaac passed away, I went through his stuff and there was a box and there were like hundreds of these little trophies in there. And I was like, if it doesn't have his name on it, I'm throwing it in the garbage. It's meaningless. And believe me, it didn't do anything for his self-esteem because that was one of his biggest issues. Well, one of his many issues was that he never loved himself, and but that to me was, that was this whole generation. If you had fun, you won. And Isaac was like, no, I don't want to get a trophy for just playing. I want to get a trophy for winning. Like he wanted to win and he didn't want just a bullshit trophy, but
New Perceptions North, the premier drug and alcohol treatment and recovery center in Central California. A full continuum of medically supervised, top-quality care with programs for detox, inpatient residential treatment with dual diagnosis, intensive outpatient treatment, sober living, support groups, and more. With 50-plus years of combined experience and sobriety, Flindt Andersen and Thelma Gatlin Wilson provide adult men and women with the highest caliber of professional health care, treating each client with compassion and respect, and a safe, comfortable environment to begin the process of recovery. To proudly create and sustain a life without addiction, call 559-978-1507 or visit newperceptionsnorth.com.
Oh, I'm with you on that.
I'm with you on that one. Let me tell you, because I'll tell you what, my kids never got a participation trophy. And by chance, if somebody were to give them one, I would have taken it and I would have probably shoved it up the coach's ass. All right. Just that simple. I mean,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
It'd be like an attorney winning a case just for showing up,
Right.
you know.
Exactly. We'll just give you some money. We'll give you a settlement just because you showed your face here today. You'll get something. Everybody gets something, you know. It's like, no.
Yeah.
But it was funny because Isaac saw right through that. It was like, nope, that he didn't want to have anything to do with that. He wanted to get something if he earned it, you know, not just.
Well, that's self-esteem. I mean, that's to me, that is. I mean, I love that when kids would go, no, I don't want that. I mean, God, I respect Isaac so much for that, because most kids today will say, oh yeah, now look at my room. I've got all these trophies all over the place. Well, you didn't do shit to get it. You know, again, the award is in itself is when you beat somebody in a athletic event. I mean, that's the prize. If you really are an athlete, that truly is the prize, knowing that you beat that team fair and square.
Listen, I'm very, very competitive. You ask my husband, it's like every time we played tennis together, it's like I have to beat him, you know. And sometimes
I'm gonna kick your ass, buddy.
Someone told me maybe it's better for your marriage if sometimes you let him win, you know. And I'm like, screw that. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not he would have won that anyway, you know. But he has beaten me a couple of times now, so you know, got to work harder.
It's like I hit a perfect ace. I'm not going to call that out.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh my God, no.
Come on.
New Perceptions North, the premier drug and alcohol treatment and recovery center in Central California. A full continuum of medically supervised top quality care with programs for detox and patient residential treatment with dual diagnosis, intensive outpatient treatment, sober living support groups, and more. New Perceptions North provides adult men and women with the highest caliber of professional health care, treating each client with compassion and respect in a safe, comfortable environment to begin the process of recovery to proudly create and sustain a life without addiction. Call 559-978-1507 or visit newperceptionsnorth.com.
Welcoming to the Don't Hide the Scars podcast, Miss Paula Young. Thank you for joining Flindt Andersen and myself, Jason LaChance.
Welcome, Paula.
Thank you so much for having me. Just to give everyone a little bit of background, Achieve Greatness was actually started by my son, Andrew. He started it 3 years prior to his unexpected death. He actually was a basketball coach. So he started Achieve Greatness to bring inner city kids who couldn't afford basketball camps, as we all know how much they are, want to have one-on-one trainings. And it became kind of like a mentoring session for him, and he loved it, and the kids loved him. He was Coach Andrew to them, or Coach Drew, as they called him. So when we unfortunately got that terrible call, my son was living in Annapolis, and I live here in Massachusetts. So the local police here in my area came to tell us that they had found my son. He was at his apartment complex. He had gone for a walk, and I had actually been texting him, and they found him under a gazebo. And when people talk about triggers, and we'll get into that, I can no longer be around a gazebo because it just triggers me.
Sure.
So when we got the call from the Annapolis Police Department to let us know what happened, obviously it was, as my husband would tell you, it's literally a bomb that went off in our home. And that's exactly what's happened. And I think many other parents can justifiably say the same thing. It's 50% of you that is now gone that will never come back. And that's one of the things that we battle with, is many folks who do not understand the path and journey of grieving parents expect us to be who we were prior. That person is gone. So what we do is we try to turn our tragedy, as is stated in Achieve Greatness, into purpose. And that's exactly what we decided to do. So what I'm doing here in Massachusetts and throughout the country is I'm speaking on behalf of the voiceless. I'm speaking with other parents. I am doing many organizations and talking about this crisis, because although people know about fentanyl and xylazine, I don't think they understand the magnitude of the crisis. You know, many times I'll talk to people and they'll say, oh yeah, Paula, yeah, of course we know about fentanyl. But tell me what you know, because what you know never really compares to what the facts are. Yeah. As you, both of you know, the facts are, this is not an addict problem, as has been mentioned many, many times. Fentanyl is affecting young children as young as 1 year old. You know, fentanyl is a poisoning. And in society today, or I can tell you here in Massachusetts, many of the folks will say to you, well, or even to the both of you, if they were on this call, well, it's an addict problem. No, it's not. Because the people that are getting fentanyl don't know they're getting it. They're being poisoned by it, whether it's in a pill, whether it's in a gummy bear, whether it is in marijuana, as my son, or if it's the vape pen, it is in coke, meth. Fentanyl is in every single street drug across the United States today. Mm-hmm. And when we're losing 305 people a day to fentanyl poisoning across the United States, and you hear nothing, I think that's a crisis.
Sure it is. Paula, first of all, I want to say this. You know, I've been doing this an awfully long time, and I am a recovering opiate addict, and I had a 23-year addiction to opiates. Been clean now for 24 years. And the fact of the matter remains is, look, I say this with all the love in my heart I possibly can muster, okay? But I'm going to disagree with you just a little bit here, okay? It is an addict problem, but it is also the problem for the people that are not or unexpectedly getting this drug in their system. Yes. Once one becomes addicted to an opioid, first of all, if fentanyl were around when I got clean or when I was using, I wouldn't be sitting here today. I understand fentanyl. I understand xylazine. I understand everything else that they are lacing everything with here. I also own a treatment center, so it's another problem for us, because now we have to detox on two drugs because because those are two separate narcotics.
Right.
But when you are a fentanyl addict, like hundreds of thousands of people are today, because the thing we're not talking about in this society today, we are not talking about those amounts of emergency room visits that people were actually saved because of Narcan, but there is no place. There are no hospitals that are saying, hey, folks, you can go here or you can go there, or hospitals aren't working with treatment centers in order to, because we've tried to do it with hospitals. Right. And as an opioid addict, and we always use Julian as kind of our benchmark. There's a young man named Julian who we can use his name, of course. And these guys would sit under the sign at one of our street corners here that said one pill can kill, right? And they would flip off the sign because they were intentionally buying fentanyl. When you get a drug that is that strong, you have to have that same drug, okay? It's when I was taking 70 to 80 Vicodin in the last 2 years of my using. If I got a Tylenol number 3, let's say, okay, I would down them. Absolutely, I would. Okay. But psychologically and even physically, that drug would not do it for me. I had to have the Vicodin or something stronger. So we're really wrestling with two issues here. We're wrestling with, of course, the poisonings. We are, and then we're wrestling with the addiction piece, because in our county systems, you have private treatment and you have county treatment. And with private treatment or PPOs and those with cash that can afford a treatment facility. The county programs, of course, are Medicaid, Medi-Cal, whatever the card is called in other parts of the country. And these county programs do not, I don't care what county it is in this country, these counties do not have enough beds to properly detox, to properly have the amount of time that an addict needs, all right, to at least start that journey of recovery. Right. So again, it's not that I'm totally disagreeing with you on this. There's just more sides to this story, okay? And you are 100% correct in saying that society doesn't get it. They don't understand it. They don't understand addiction. They don't understand what the combinations that are in fentanyl. They don't understand any of it. And that's sort of what our fight is here, is getting the right people to understand what addiction is and how, because guess what? It is doable. Recovery is possible. Abstinence is possible in all of this. So I just wanted to state that, but please go ahead, because again, we've had people that have worked here that have lost children, and it's I would never put myself in a parent's shoes in this, not ever.
Well, those situations were much like Andrew's situation, a poisoning, and we've had people that do not believe us when we've said, check where you're getting your marijuana from
or your cocaine.
Yeah, it's being laced.
Right.
Yes.
And they're like, what? Why would anyone do that?
Right. 60% of cocaine, according to DEA today, 60% of all cocaine is laced with fentanyl. Yes. Why? And again, those are the casual users on a Friday or Saturday night, whether you're 14 or 40, that are going out. Hey, they want to do a couple of bumps. They want to go dancing. They want to go to a party, whatever, and they wind up dead in 3 minutes. Yep. That's the issue here. Yeah, it is.
Right. And I have to tell you, I so appreciate you, and I am so blessed to be able to be in your presence, because one of the things with me, and I'll tell you a little backstory to this, is when I received a call from the head detective in Annapolis. I won't tell you his name. He said to me, Mrs. Young, he said, I don't know what you expected. Did you expect a different outcome?
Whoa.
And at that moment and point in time, it's almost like the universe shifted, because, and of course I won't swear on here, but I had a couple of choice words.
You can if you want to. Let her fly.
And I said to him, I said, you know what? I said, how dare you? How dare you speak like that to a mother who just lost their child? And how dare you treat him? And even if he was an addict or substance abuse, he's a human being.
Yep.
What is wrong with you? And at that moment in time, I knew that my mission also had to be to understand the substance abuse community and the addiction community, because I'm going to be honest with you, I know nothing about it. Look, I knew nothing about fentanyl till I lost Andrew. Sure. Now I'm a freaking subject matter expert. All us parents are, and so are both of you. Right. And sometimes it's having the tough conversations with people and saying, and to me, you're right. We're not doing enough as a country. We're not doing enough as a society, because unfortunately, and I'm going to speak just on my state because I can speak on my state. They look at it as, oh, well, it's another junkie gone. Who cares?
That's right.
No, it's a human being. Right. That person had a family. They were a child to someone, a husband, whatever it is. Why do you keep thinking that's okay to talk like that?
Right. They don't understand that. Look, that. And I know this is a line I've used a lot. People are probably tired of hearing it, and I don't care. Okay, but we didn't raise our hands and said we want to become drug addicts when we grow up. All right. We all came from somewhere. We all had a family. Sure, some were probably more blessed than others. Okay, that's life. That's just life. Yeah. But none of us want to crap in a doorway somewhere. None of us want to go through every day. When I was doing 80 Vicodin a day, I had 2 jobs. My first job was to make sure I had enough pills for the day, so I wouldn't go bat crazy. And then, of course, I had my career, on top of that. So everything suffered, everything, including my family, including my work, all of it, my health, everything. And our mission here, again, is to, and I'm going to say it now because I keep telling people this, no matter who we have on our podcast, I will come to Massachusetts. I will explain to people what addiction is, how it affects us, how it affects our brains. I will give them the difference between addiction and somebody that got poisoned, because those are two totally different sides here to this story.
Yes.
And the poisoning parts of this. Look, the other thing is this, and then I'm going to shut up. I really want to.
No.
Okay, but I get on these rolls, and Jason knows this.
Fired up, Flindt.
Okay, I get fired up quickly here. When we talk, not we, but when our society, you know where I'm going with this, starts talking about long-term harm reduction, I want to run for the hills, because I was on all of that. Okay. Yeah. We are not, and here's where I'm going with it. We are not offering people the right kind of treatment or giving them the option to say, do you want abstinence? Because why do we want to strap a 25-year-old to methadone for the rest of their life? Right. Okay. It's a trap. It's bullshit. It's out of there. But now there's another side to that. For the folks that have lost a child to this, there are people out there, and in our area as well. They just rave about long-term harm reduction because, if we just kept her or him on methadone all of this time, maybe my child would still be alive. So my reaction to that is, how do I argue with that? Okay, because again, it's a human being, it's a child, it's parents. I won't put myself in their position. But when when these long-term harm reductions they don't understand addiction either. They don't know, and they're not telling the addict or their families what the potential long-term health risks are to long-term harm reduction, and how you are trapped, and how you have to stay home because you have to get your medication every day, and blah, blah, blah. And the story goes on and on. Okay. So what we do here is we try to get those messages across to everybody that, hey, there is a better way here. There are choices out there, but the longer you stay trapped in something, the harder it is going to become to step away from that medically assisted drug, okay, that everybody is trying to give you.
Got to give that shout out to Granville. For those that don't know, 9 nonprofits benefit greatly from Darius Assemi and the Granville Home of Hope people. They give away a home every year, free to one lucky winner, which I've never been. And and you also have a chance to win a lease on a Lexus for 2 years, brand new, given by Fresno Lexus. It's they're great organizations. They're great people helping out nonprofits, and 100% of all the tickets that each individual nonprofit sells goes directly back to us, which is unheard of in our world, so to speak. Yep. And it helps us tremendously. So you can call us at Payne. You can go to our website. It'll tell you how to buy the tickets, and help us out so we can continue to try to save some more people here, because folks, it's not slowing down. It's not getting any better.
So make sure that you get your tickets from Payne. Please help us help others. As they say, God helps those who help themselves. No, God helps those who help themselves, then help others. And hey, we need your help helping others. So please join us in this fight. Susan Bartz Herrick, thank you for joining myself, Jason LaChance, and the founder of Payne, Flindt Andersen, on the Don't Hide the Scars podcast.
Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, no, thank you for not only joining us, but for sharing not only your experience, but that of your son's life. And one of the things that really touched my heart when Luke's story and yours came across our desk is Flindt. We've talked about this here on the podcast. We're seeing kind of a dip in the advocacy piece
amidst, the fentanyl crisis, the opioid crisis, it just seems less people are talking right now.
Yeah, Susan, I think there's a couple things going on. We in the United States, we have he's moving me over again because I always get out of focus here. How sly was that? I think we all did a damn good job of making this awareness piece out there over the last 4 years about fentanyl, the dangers of fentanyl. One pill can kill. Bus stop benches, signs on street corners, and again, going to our lawmakers, whatever the case may be. But like anything else in this country, we have a tendency to go, excuse my language, sometimes we go balls to the wall on something, and then we have a tendency to dip again. And I think we're at that dip. Now you bring in the long-term harm reduction piece to this, or harm reduction in general. We're putting recovery off to the side just to keep people on maintenance programs and not giving solutions to actual treatment. And then one more thing is that the lawmakers, they're not asking us, the people that have had long-term recovery, what works and what doesn't.
Exactly.
There it is.
And I found something too. When I was doing the research for my book, I mean, I am an academic, but not in the scientific field. So I really delved into it. And what I found is that there's a lot of really good, beneficial information in the scientific community, but it is written in the language, in medicalese, in scientific, at a grade 18 plus level. And having been a professor in the field of communications, we know that we have to target to a reading audience that is about a level 6th grade, 7th grade. So, I mean, there is this tremendous gap. And that was one of the purposes I had, is to try to bridge this gap, because I think if more people had better information that they could digest, it would mean something. And I was also, I was grateful to Beth Macy and to the new Netflix Painkiller for putting this information out there. I saw a rise from friends of mine, who just said, wow, I never knew, so it's validating. And there is already a screenplay that has been written about Luke's story. And that's a hope of mine, is to get it out more to the public. Unfortunately, the screenplay does not go into the depth of the research that I went through in the book, because yes, it's a story of my son and I, but about every second or third chapter, I just really relay what is going on, public policy, why these things are failing. And I was really shocked and dismayed with the medical community about how many people don't know, and furthermore, they really don't care.
Yeah. No, you're right. And you're absolutely right.
I had to live through that,
Right. Yeah. We deal with a lot of parents that have lost children to this, and they go through the exact same thing. I would sincerely hope, I am an avid movie watcher. Avid.
Are you?
Yeah. I mean, I have, I got to have a TV on all the time, even at night when I sleep. It's really
the movie
stupid.
wallpaper. Yeah.
Right. And when I'm watching some of these programs, especially as it relates to substance abuse, my only hope for this screenplay is that they actually have somebody on set that knows what the hell they're talking about. As far as what's the word I'm trying to think of here, a consultant, right? Because I see some of this stuff, and even in the movie Dope Sick, as much as I loved that movie. Or that small series on Netflix. I'm sitting there. I could pick that thing apart, just almost line by line. So that's one thing. And going back when you're talking about the comprehension level here, I totally agree with that. I also agree with this, and I was telling Jason this the other day. There was a friend of mine. I was out at my golf club, and I was to a man that is extremely bright, okay, loves what I do, loves what we do here. I mean, this guy's a business genius. He's got kids, the whole deal. And again, we were just talking about fentanyl and whatnot, and he could not comprehend when I told him that fentanyl addicts, we search out fentanyl. That's the drug we have to have now, because a Vicodin or a Norco, sometimes even heroin, aren't going to take care of our needs. That he about lost it. He goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I thought just everybody that tried it died." And I'm going, "Tom, no, that's not the case here." Right. So again, it goes back to all levels of individuals that don't understand because they're not being told the right information.
Exactly. No, I have the creative rights on the screenplay, and one of the things that we're looking for is that the director, the producer, that everybody's got a little skin in the game. Mm-hmm. So everybody understands. Good. Because I agree. I mean, education, knowledge is power, and we have to get it out there somehow. It hurts me too. I'm on quite a few of the Facebook groups of a lot of mothers, parents, family members who have lost children. They don't understand. I mean, why did my son choose the drugs over me?
Right.
Why wouldn't my daughter stop? They don't understand the science behind how the midbrain is changed and how all of that works together. They don't understand tolerance, that, it's not going out chasing the high. A lot of the times it's the brain literally thinks it's going to die without the drug.
Yes.
And you act accordingly to what your brain says. Correct. I mean, my son was, we just had quite a story. He had probably 2/3 of the precursors to addiction. Now, this is something that a lot of people don't know, that there are about 13 precursors, and that statistically 2 out of 10 people who will try narcotics will say, "Oh, wow, I have never felt this better in my life. I want to just feel good." The 8 out of 10 say, "Ooh, I don't like this. I don't like how I feel." Right. There's a neurobiochemical difference. All brains are not alike. Why do certain people get cancer? Others don't.
Right.
Substance use disorder is a chronic disease, not a moral failing. And that really is the thesis that I have running through my book. And every time I talk about it, and, trying to explain chronic diseases, cancer, heart, kidney, diabetes, statistically, 10 to 15% of these cancers are genetic. Mm-hmm. The rest of them, it is environment or lifestyle. Well, the same stats hold pretty true to SUD. And yet, as a disease, we are not treated the same way that these other are. I mean, there's 30 some drugs for diabetes, over 50 for heart, and over 100 for cancer. How many do those with SUD have to help them transition off or to be of aid if needed? You wouldn't tell a cancer patient, no, you have to pray this away.
There's a couple things you said there that are just enormously important. One of them, though, is, look, I'm old school a lot in this. I got clean in 2001, and I was kind of in the middle of the OxyContin era.
Okay.
Although I was not, I was not an OxyContin user. My drug was any other opiate. In fact, I didn't even know about Oxy till I got to my fourth and final treatment center. But I just went off for a minute. But where this stands, when you're talking about the disease of addiction, and you are right on all points. But the first thing we have to do, like anything else, is we have to get the person off of the drug.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
we know what to do from there.
Absolutely.
It's like parents, and there's a couple things on this. Parents, and God bless them, and for the parents that have lost children, this is so hard for me sometimes to even say. But they want to blame something else. They were ADHD, they were bipolar, they were this, they were that. When a lot of these drugs mimic those mental health issues that, and there may not be a mental health issue there. That I've had to tell parents sometimes, I'm sorry, but your son or your daughter was just a good old fashioned drug addict. They were the 3 out of the 10, okay, that said, whoa, I like this, because we don't take drugs to make us feel bad. We take drugs to make us feel good. And by the way, they're very good.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I didn't experience it in my anxiety disorder until I was really pretty far into my alcoholism.
Yeah.
It didn't really spike up. And I know there were some things from childhood, and hey, I'm dyslexic and all these different things, but it's, I mean, it's such a great point. I noticed it got worse because alcohol is an amazing anxiety drug, And so the more I used it,
Luke's father,
and when I wasn't, the anxiety,
Luke's father was a functioning alcoholic, and twice a week he would drink a great deal. I mean, case of beer, and because it is a depressant in the brain, it brings it on down. And then I would see the escalation. I was, genetically, I mean, Luke, he didn't sleep probably past 6 months. He was just on fire, had general anxiety disorder. He was just geared high. He had ADD. My mother just begged me not to put him on Adderall. I wish I would have listened. Adderall is an amphetamine, a methamphetamine, and meth. I mean, they're not the same drug, but they're cousins. And when you think of children's brains, they develop in those first 10, 12 years. All of the circuitry is getting put together then. And if you start throwing drugs into the mix at that age, you're almost assuring you might have some challenges down the way, because the brain recognizes the drug, says, oh, this is familiar. And it wants more of it.
.org. Follow us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Pain Nonprofit. And please subscribe to the Don't Hide the Scars podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. And if you would like to donate to PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need, please click the link in the description to make your tax-deductible donation today and help us save more lives gripped by addiction.